Welcome to the weekend of Two Guys and a Mic. This is our post-game edition after the Browns Lions game today, in which the Browns won, kind of unconvincingly, but we won 13-10 to improve our record to 6-5. I am one of your hosts, and today I am your only host. I am RP. And one thing about this show, when I'm the only voice in the show, I don't really like doing the post-game shows without Sean, first of all. But whenever I get a chance to do the shows by myself, it definitely gives me an opportunity to go a little bit deeper, dig a little bit deeper, and scrape kind of the bottoms of things that really kind of irritate me or bother me. So expect a lot of that tonight, because we won today, and I won't say that it feels like we lost. It just doesn't feel like we won. Like, I left today's game with more questions than answers. I left today's game with more frustration. Like, today's game didn't solve anything for me. I didn't watch today and say, all right, Browns, finally y'all figured it out, or woo, man, I wasn't sure if y'all could pull this off, and y'all pulled it off, and y'all look good doing it, blah, 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 such and such. We got some issues, and I think we've had issues all the way throughout. I don't think these are new issues. Let's be honest. I don't think so. I think these are things that have existed, and I'll get into a little bit of that as I dig a little bit further into the game. So I'm gonna start to try to tie it in and pull it all together. So what am I saying when I say there's some things going on, and so let's go back to a week ago, where we got it handed to us by the New England Patriots. We got it handed to us. It was clear that we were not playing as hard as they were. As Sean pointed out last week, it was one of the worst games that we've seen this team play or claim to play, probably since the first week of last season, in which we got blown out by the Ravens. So pretty much ever since then, we've at least looked like we belonged on the field, whether we won or lost. We looked like we belonged on the field. We may have had a snafu here and a snafu there, but we looked at least like we belonged on the field with whoever else was playing against us. We haven't necessarily looked like that this season in more than a game or so. We're so up and down. We're all over the place, and today is definitely one of those situations. So, like I say, it's not. I don't feel like we lost. I just don't know that we won. So, one of the things that I enjoy doing with the show, I like telling the story, and I like having something tell a story for me. So usually my backgrounds, especially game day backgrounds. Now you may see me during our midweek show, and I may have just a backdrop of the city in which I love so much, our skyline. You may see something like that. That's just a fair shot right there. But usually after the games, I have something that means something to the game, something that means something to me, something that makes a reference to how I think the game was played, or how I think, the game, the outcome of the game was. So anybody who knows this guy behind me, a lot of you guys have seen this scene before. They know exactly what this picture is. It's one of my favorite movies. It is a picture of Andy Dufresne's the main character in Shawshank Redemption. Again, anybody who saw this movie knows exactly where and what this where this is and what this references. The reason that Andy Dufresne's is behind me is because this is how I think the Browns came out of this game. We went through a tunnel of shit and we escaped with a win. 13-10 versus the 0-8 Detroit Lions. That's why I have my guy Andy behind me. So this game was not a cohesive display today. And that's kind of a letdown because I expected to see a little bit more coming out of this past week, coming out of last week's game. I expected to see more of a cohesive feeling. I was expecting to get more of a cohesive feeling. I was expecting to get more of a thought how we're going to keep moving forward. We've reached 10, up until this game, we're at, the 10-week mark. So we're at a point in the season where this needs to be who we are going forward, period. Period. Not, oh, we can go game to game and figure it out from game to game. You can, game plan wise, but your attitude has to be the same moving forward. It has to be. It has to be. So that's not what I'm saying. The one consistent thing that happens, and I've said it for weeks, there's one consistent thing that's happening with the Cleveland Browns, and that's inconsistency on both sides of the ball. I don't know if that makes that two different things that's happening, but we continue to see consistently inconsistent play from the offense and from the defense, consistent, inconsistent coaching and game planning from the offensive coordinators, who happens to be the head coach, and the defensive coordinator, who I think should be let go of his and relieved of his duties at the end of the season. But I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. So I just felt like it wasn't a cohesive game plan versus an 0-8 team. Like there's some things versus most 0-8 teams, and this is not an awful 0-8 team. They're bad because, of course, you're 0-8 coming into this game, now they're 0-9. But coming into the game, this isn't the worst 0-8 team I've ever seen. They've played a lot of close games. They've been in many of the games that they've lost, but they just aren't capable, especially with this kid that played today, the quarterback, Tim Boyd. But they have some pretty solid moving pieces that can possibly potentially win them games. And that's what I mean when I say that they're not the worst 0-8 team. I've seen 0-8 teams that didn't have, 10 shreds of talent on it. I believe that we may have been close to one of those teams, especially after the injuries, But Detroit isn't a terrible 0-8 team. However, they're still 0-8. So there were some things that were set up for us to take advantage of, and I don't know that we did that. And I put that on the coaches. This team played us tough, and out of those games that I mentioned earlier that they played really, really close, two of those games prior to today came versus AFC North teams. They played to a tie with Pittsburgh last week, and then a couple weeks prior to that, they played to it took a record-breaking field goal versus the Ravens, and otherwise they would have won that game. So they play us well. They play the AFC North well. They only lost by 3 to us, and we kind of escape through the tunnel of shit to get this win. Now you might say, well, how did you escape through the tunnel of shit if we're saying they're not that bad? I'm saying that they're not that bad, but we should have played better. I don't know that we showed our best side in this game, which is why that's what I think the tunnel of shit was. I don't think the tunnel of shit is the Detroit Lions. I personally think the tunnel of shit that we crawled through is a self-inflicted tunnel of shit. What do I mean? Glad you asked. So we had another tough week this week leading up to this game. This game wasn't like a simple game. It wasn't an easy game. Leading up to this week, should I say. There was a lot of backstories, a lot of things happening out in Berea, which is where the Browns practice facility is. It was a lot popping this week. So this was probably the busiest week or the most emotional week or the most kind of, week with action in it since OBJ was here. And during that week, you saw how the guys responded for that game. So this week was similar. During the week, if you guys don't know and you haven't heard the chatter or haven't, seen anything that led you to believe that everything was just a simple, show up for meetings and do your walkthroughs and, take your COVID test, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't that kind of a week. After last week's game, Myles Garrett got in, said some things. He got into it. He really didn't get into it, anyone. He had a few things to say about the adjustments, the game plan adjustments. So this is the game plan. This ain't working. Are we going to change this? Or are we going to do something different? No, we're going to keep doing the same thing. Bullshit. And that's basically what Myles Garrett said. And I included the bullshit part. So he didn't say that, I did. But that's how he felt. He kind of alluded to him and some of the guys on the team felt like, come on, bro, you setting us up for failure. And he had to have a discussion with the coach about that, with the head coach, excuse me. To clear out the air and, to get guys to feeling like, okay, we're still in the same squad, right? But I think it's something to be said about that. I think Myles is right. You guys ain't making the right calls. You guys ain't doing the right stuff. Where does that leave us as players? So once you start losing players, that's tough. And that's why Stefanski had to step in. He had a one-on-one meeting with Myles during the week. And then the next thing you know, Myles wasn't at practice. I think that was Wednesday or Thursday. Then you also had Jarvis Landry, one of the leaders on the team, another leader, because Myles is a leader as well. One of the leaders on the team coming out saying, man, I don't know why I'm not getting the ball. And not like he was gripping and griping. But I think that's just not his nature. The crazy part is, had this been OBJ saying the same thing, everybody would have been calling this dude selfish. Everybody would have been killing this guy. But it's Jarvis, so you're like, oh, I can understand. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Trust me, it is. When you're not getting your playmakers and the guys that are capable of making a difference on the field, when you're not getting them the ball, you are going to have a problem, and you should have a problem. And they should be upset about it. The crazy part is we have this thought process that everybody should just be quiet and play. But be quiet and play for what? Like, what's happening? There's nothing happening that's so great on the Cleveland Browns that we should just be quiet and never say a word. Especially when you look at the numbers. And this is an analytical team, correct? So trust me, it's not that these guys don't see these numbers. And it's impossible for them not to. So my guy comes out, Jarvis comes out, he says, man, I don't know. And he alluded to the other guys on the team, the other wide receivers, kind of like feeling like, yo, what's happening? I don't know why we're not getting targets. So they come out Baker comes out. He makes kind of a statement. Oh, we're going to do what we can to get the guy the ball some more. Okay. Stefanski comes out. He says the same thing you said about OBJ. Oh, we got to do more. We got to do better to get him the ball, blah, blah, blah. But why do you got to do better when that should be, what are you doing offensively that you got to do better at getting your playmakers the ball? I'm absolutely flabbergasted and confused at that thought process, but okay. So these are the things that were happening that we knew about during the week. So if that's what we knew about, there's these other things going on inside that locker room that nobody's saying anything about. And I said this a couple of weeks ago with the OBJ situation. Now, there are factions in that locker room. There are people in that locker room whispering. There are people in that locker room, clamoring. And there's problems in that locker room. There's guys that don't trust the coaches. That's why the coach pulled Miles in, because he knows, A, Miles has his ear to the ground, and B, he's one of the superstars and one of the leaders. And if he goes, everybody behind him is a domino. Big as he is, everybody behind him is a domino. So I would expect to see some changes at the end of the season if things don't turn around and the Browns don't make the playoffs. Defensively, for sure. And I don't mean player-wise. I'm just saying in general. With the coach, Joe Woods, you might have to go, bro. If it was up to me, it wouldn't even be a question. But, I understand that this isn't how nobody listens to me. These guys might listen to the show, but they probably ain't listening to what I think needs to happen. So, but that's my thought in that. So that was the week leading up to this game. So my thoughts were, man, these guys got to do things differently. They got to circle the wagons, and then they got to start making moves into the game. And you're playing a team that, quote unquote, isn't as good as you are. So go in here and beat the brakes off these 0-8 guys, or at least, if you're not going to beat the brakes off of them, at least go into this game and impose your will to where we know that you're a better team than this. That's not what we saw today. And the NFL is kind of set up that way, where even the bad teams can show up and win. And Sean alluded to that a couple weeks ago. There are no easy wins. And we were actually talking about this game. There are no easy wins. There ain't no gimmies. And he's absolutely correct. So we went into this game and you saw that. So let's discuss the game. We talked about the week. I kind of gave you an overview of what I felt happened today, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit more, but I'll go a little bit more in depth this time around, and I'm going to talk about the defense first. Defensively, if you just looked at the game in a vacuum, you'll say we played better, we did better. We only gave up 10 points. Wow, we were great, right? We had a couple turnovers. All of these are things that we talked about we don't do, and we didn't have some of that stuff, we might be talking about a different type of game. We may have lost this game. So, that's why I say we look better. I don't know that I was impressed, though, because now we actually played pretty good in the first half and terrible in the second half. I feel like we played terrible in the second half. That's when the kid, Swift, DeAndre Swift, kind of took off on us. We were doing pretty good against him. We had held him to like 40-something yards prior to that, but then he busted off to the 70-something yard run, and then he, busted off a couple of other runs, and he had the backup dude busting off. Like it was starting to get kind of ugly. In the second half, we were on the field a lot defensively, and that helped Detroit a lot because we were a little bit gassed. And you could tell DeAndre Swift ended up with like 136 yards on 14 carries. So we didn't do ourselves any favors. Definitely not in the second half. We were pretty tight in the first half, and then the second half came and we didn't do so well offensively either, and that allowed uh, Detroit to kind of get back, if you want to call, you know, chasing people down from 10 points down or whatever, if you want to call that, uh, you know, chasing us down or whatever. If you want to call it whatever you want to call it. I'm not, again, as you can't tell, you can tell. I'm a little bit frustrated with this game because we scored all our points in the second quarter and did nothing after that. Um, the defense really couldn't stop. Here's here's something I don't understand. Again, I don't know what Joe Woods is making. I'm not sure what Joe Woods' salary is. I don't know what um, his assistants, the defensive backfield coaches and all these. I don't know what any of these guys make. But with Detroit coming into this game being 0-8, with Detroit coming into this game and I was about to say Matt Stafford, Jared Goff is not playing. You got a guy named Tim Boyd, who, I mean, I'm sure you're not afraid of this guy, right? Okay, so why don't you just load up the box against this Swift kid who is really good and has proven to be good. I think he had 140 something yards last week. So just load up the box and work against this guy and force uh, Boyd to throw the ball. Oh, I know that's probably too complicated, and you don't want to do that because it's against your analytics and blah blah and blah blah, right? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's another reason why I think this guy has to go because I don't know that you have to be imaginative to do simple stuff. That's simple. Prove to me that we need to come out of this defense. I'm gonna stop your run and I'm gonna put the game in Tim Boyd's hand. Tell me when I say something that sounds ridiculous. I don't know that I did, and I don't know that I have. And the fact that you didn't do this and this wasn't your game plan, it makes me question not that I haven't questioned everything he does anyway, but it really makes me question uh, your being appointed rather to the defensive coordinator position, and makes me wonder why I'm not the damn defensive coordinator or Andy Dufresne. He's crawled through shit. You understand me? Damn. Make the game simple for yourself. I don't get it. Over to the offensive side, please and thank you. Unimpressive. Again, as I said, there was no cohesion to this game. There was no cohesion to the offense. Um, I almost always laud Kevin Stefanski on his play calling, especially early in the game. His game planning, his scripted plays. I think they generally equate to us scoring, and they generally equate to us, putting ourselves at an advantage. Today that didn't happen, and honestly speaking, today it was like the overall game plan was just. I don't know if it was based in the execution because the execution was poor, and it definitely was poor on certain plays. I can't say it was poor all day, but it was, the execution was poor in spots. Um, but I don't know where the blame is, and I'm not necessarily trying to blame or say somebody stinks or whatever. I don't necessarily want to do that. I can, and I might later on, but right now, just talking, doing an overview of the offense, as a whole, I know that Nick was banged up from COVID. He probably wasn't even at 100%. I've had COVID, and it takes a little bit out of you. And if he wasn't at 100%, man, that dude played his behind off. That was, as much as we throw around the tough word, I think Nick Chubb should get some tough credibility too. 'Cause some of you guys ain't even had COVID yet, but that's tough to play after having COVID. That's pretty tough. So the offense should have been based in and around Nick Chubb, and it seemed like it was, but there was a variety of other throws and other plays. Did I say throws? Damn, it makes me look like I'm pointing towards somebody. There was a problem with other things that happened on the other side of the offense that brings question to some things. So the offense just wasn't, again, there was no cohesion. It didn't look great. And we're playing against an 0-8 team. So you should have been able to put together, especially if this guy is some level of a guru. And by this guy, I mean Kevin Stefanski. You should have been able to put up more than 13 points. Speaking of, now we're about to hit the specifics. Let's talk about coach. Kevin Stefanski, how are you today, sir? Your great offense since the Cardinals game, which was week 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3. 14 points, 17 points, 10 points. Somehow we mustered 41 points after OBJ left. Okay, so that's the one anomaly. 7 points, 13 points. Want me to say it again? So y'all hear it? Let's go. I didn't even include the Minnesota game. I said since the Chargers game. If you want to, let's add the Vikings game. Why not? So since week 3, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 games since week 3, including week 3, should I say? And in all but 2 of those games, we haven't scored more than 17 points. Kevin Stefanski, offensive coordinator, offensive play caller, offensive guru, analytical genius. Are you freaking kidding me right now, bro? It's time for this guy to give up the play calling, especially outside of the scripted plays. What you're doing ain't working. Now, I know some people will say, oh no, it's execution. I live on planet no excuses. It is the execution too. And I'll get to that. But Kevin Stefanski, I'm not sure that you could just call a game. I haven't seen you call a game where I didn't have a question of what you're doing. I haven't seen it yet. Last year we caught people off guard. We ain't catching people off guard this year. People know what you do. And they just sitting around waiting on it. Go ahead, bro. Do it again. Let me see it again. Try it again. Oh yeah, I knew you was gonna do that. And you don't have a freaking plan B. You don't have an answer. You don't have a way around it. You don't have a way around it. And if you do, you haven't shown it to us or to your team. So I'm saying all of that stuff to say, come on, bro, give up the play calling. Stop being a freaking anal retentive jackass and just give up the play calling. You hired this guy. This your guy, right? So let that guy have it. Alex Van Pelt, let him have it. Let Bill Callahan have it. And you just sit in on the meetings and let them do the play calling, the end game play calling. You could even script the plays, allow them to do the in-game play calling, please, because you stink at it. You rest your hat on analytics. I'm glad I said that. Analytics. We were 5 for 13 on third downs. That's like 26%. Analytics. So you want to talk numbers, bro? Because I can talk numbers with you. You're not good on third downs. Guess what else you're not good at? Fourth. Thankfully today we didn't go for a fourth down. Or we did, but I think it was a penalty on it, so we got the first down there. I think. I'm trying to remember the game. It's much later in the day as I'm recording, but regardless, we've watched this game all season. We've watched this team all season, and we have not been good on fourth down. Terrible on fourth down. We'll go back to last week. We were 1 for freaking 11 on third downs and 2 for 4 on fourth down. I think that may have been our best fourth down efficiency in a while. But you wouldn't have to go for it on fourth downs if you got it right on third downs. And then, honestly, if you got it right on second downs. We'll go back to the Broncos game. We were actually much better. The Broncos game was much better, and we barely won that game. So just saying all that to say, Stefanski has to do a better job. I think him doing a better job equates to him giving up the play calling. I'm not calling for his head yet, but I'm going to start. Probably not by the end of the season unless I see something totally egregious. But I do see some tweaks that need to happen. We talked about it last week. I'm going to say it again in a minute, but I got to go keep on this offensive side of the ball. Baker Mayfield. How you doing, bro? You good? You sure? I mean, because you got rid of your problem, so you should be playing better, right? This offense was so easy last year because your problem wasn't here. Now your problem's not here. So what's the problem? Huh? I don't hear you. What'd you say? Oh, yeah. You look terrible. And let me rephrase that. I won't say you look terrible. I'll say you don't look really good. Today's game, I've been calling, and I'll be honest, I'll be clear. I've been calling Baker Mayfield basic Mayfield. Now, why would I call my quarterback basic Mayfield? I'm calling him basic Mayfield because he's playing like a basic quarterback. He can barely make regular throws. He doesn't look great on the field. He doesn't look good. He takes chances that he shouldn't take. And it's playing out and it's working against the team. Now, as I was making that statement, as I was talking, I could literally hear people either writing into the comments or inboxing me or texting me saying, you can't blame Baker. You can't do this with Baker. Oh, yeah, he's hurt. Listen, hey, I can blame whoever the hell I want. It's my damn show. I can blame whoever I want. The good thing for you guys is that I'm fair. The bad thing for you guys is that I'm fair. I'm not blaming Baker Mayfield. I'm just not protecting him. You guys recall a couple weeks ago, I told you I'm done. I'm finished with the excuse game. Ain't no more excuses, man. Baker need to man the hell up. And if he gonna show his hurt ass up, his injured ass up, and expect me to be impressed, he need to win one of these games. The reason we give a damn about the flu game is that Mike didn't just show his ass up. He showed up, played his ass off, and won. You know, the Willis Reed game in the finals where this dude limp out the out the tunnel and the crowd goes crazy and it gives the team an emotional boost. He didn't play that much, but his team won. That's why everybody remembers it. So if you gonna go your ass out there, your hobbled ass out there, and barely win games or barely make an impact in those games, it don't make no damn difference. Now I said a couple weeks ago because I've heard people say, "Son of a bitch." I've heard people say, "Oh, well, Baker's hurt. Him knee hurt. Him shoulders torn." Well, sit your ass down then. I called for his ass to go sit down almost a month ago. When did we play? Let me look. Let me look this up real quick. One. Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to say month, but it was 2 weeks ago. So we're 3 games past that. I called for him to sit down the Bengals game. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm sorry. That's wrong. It has been a month. That was the Pittsburgh game. I called for him to sit out that Pittsburgh game, you know, where we scored 10 points, but we tried to act like we had to have him on the field to get us 10 points because maybe Case Keenum couldn't muster up 10 points or look as poor as Baker looked in that game, getting 10 points. People call me all kind of stuff. People text me, especially after the Bengals game. Oh, everybody was on my ass. You know, oh yeah, don't start him. You wanted him out. Blah blah blah. Everybody was giving me grief. However, now everybody's like, oh, he's hurt. He probably shouldn't. No, yes, the hell he should. Yes, the hell he should start because you need your best player, right? That's what everybody was telling me a couple of weeks ago. Now you want him to sit out. No, he can't sit out now because now we in the meat. One of my favorite phrases on this show. Now we in the meat and potatoes of this thing. Can't go sit out now. We need our best player. See, you see how this starts to listen. I don't just say stuff. I say stuff because I've thought it through. I put my notes down. I watched the game thinking noteworthy stuff, not just noteworthy stuff to write down. I watched the game with the expectation of us winning, but I also watched the game and I pick and push things to a point that it allows me to break down, what happened a little bit better. So my thought about this dude not playing had a lot to do with us winning the division, had a lot to do with us winning in the playoffs. You got to be healthy in some capacity to pull some of that off, unless you're like a superstar. Baker ain't no superstar. Baker's a basic quarterback. And that's what he looks like right now. Basic Mayfield. This offense is not doing this guy any favors, but he does what he can within the offense. But he's basic. And if you're telling me he's basic because he's hurt, then he need to go sit his basic ass down until he can get healthy to not be basic. Why is this so freaking hard to understand? It's like freaking rocket science? It's not that difficult. He's hurt. He wasn't that great when he wasn't hurt. So what are we talking about? I ain't saying he need to go get the surgery or whatever, but a week off or 2 weeks off, and this falls at Stefanski's lap, A week off or 2 weeks off? What's the problem? The coach should put you in the best position for your team, whatever team that is. I don't care if it's a bowling team. I don't care if it's a golf team. I don't care if it's a debate team. Your coach should put you in the best position to win. And when the coach doesn't do that, it means a couple of things. Number one, Kevin Stefanski weak, man. When is he gonna tell Baker to sit his ass down? Tell you why he ain't putting Baker down. And this is another problem. Where we going in on Baker, I'm gonna go in on him too. But if we going in on Baker, let's go in on folks. This is what I mean when I talk about fair assessment. Let's be fair. Let's call not just a spade a spade. Let's call all the spades spades. Let's do that. Because to me, that's more important. Let's not leave nothing out. Don't tell me about the drop passes that Baker had last week. You ain't gonna tell me about them badass throws Baker had last week. All I'm saying is this. I'm done with the excuses. Baker was basic again today. Seems to be the norm. Kevin Stefanski was basic as hell today too. It was a terrible game plan. It was a hard game to watch. We squeaked one out. We squoze our ass through a shit tube and came out with a dub. It's that it's that simple. Um, it's that simple. I don't know that it needs to be more than that. I don't think it needs to be overstated. Thank God for Nick Chubb. Thank God for Nick Chubb. And thank God for those badass passes that Tim Boyd threw. Baker was not good today. And I know a few Baker advocates, they ain't even reach out to me today. You know why? This Baker was terrible. And it wasn't just the offensive line. And it wasn't just the play calling. And it wasn't just, all the other built-in excuses that we have for him. Baker was bad today. Those two picks were two of the worst picks. And ain't nobody gonna say nothing about him forcing them passes into Jarvis either. Nobody's gonna say a word about it. Everybody's okay with it. But when he was quote unquote forcing it to OBJ, it was a problem, right? Let me tell you, let me talk about those forced passes to Jarvis, those 4 catches for 26 yards. Yeah, he forced the shit out of that ball. A couple of those were interceptions, by the way. Those were just the catches. So he had more targets than that. What I'm saying is, ain't nobody gonna say a word about him forcing the ball to him. But y'all had all of that to say anytime he threw it towards OBJ. This is what makes me mad because of the inconsistency of the fans, the inconsistency of the coverage of this team. I'm here to be fair. I'm here to be honest. I'm here to scrutinize, but I'm also here to celebrate. And when I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong, especially if I'm proven wrong. It's one thing to say you're wrong just because you don't agree with me or I don't agree with you, but it's something else to have an opinion, say whatever that opinion is, and then have a different outcome, and then come back and you just sit down and you say, I had a pastor tell me this. My pastor from some years ago, he flat out told me, people don't say sorry enough. We don't sit down and retract statements. We don't sit down and say, you know what, I was wrong. People don't say that. People don't say that, but we do a really good job of that on this show. So I don't have a problem saying too much of anything because I'll just stand behind my word. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand behind, apologizing or saying, damn, dog, I didn't expect that to happen. That was incredible. They did a really good job. Boom, 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 and just keep it moving. We easy like that over here. However, I don't think Kevin Stefanski's that easy going or that smooth with his thought process or with his game plan. I think today's game plan was trash. I also think his game plan today was, as I said, ruined by Baker and his terrible throw. Those scripted plays. I think his scripted plays were ruined. Who knew or who knows what could have happened uh, at some point in a game if there wasn't a turnover, right? Maybe we could have scored a touchdown, maybe. But Baker threw one of the worst passes I've seen in a while, since last week. He threw one of the worst passes I've seen since last week. And he threw a few of them today. A few really bad passes. He was just off, and he quit telling me he's hurt. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. He keeps showing up. Don't he? He keeps showing up. So I don't want to hear it. Nobody cared that OBJ might have been hurt. Nobody even talks about OBJ being hurt. Everybody just says their negative stuff about him. So why do I need to care about Baker? And I don't want to make this about OBJ and Baker. What I'm saying is, when somebody's playing poorly, we need to talk about how they're playing poorly. We need to stop with the excuses. We need to just hold people accountable. People need to catch these balls. Rashard Higgins had a drop today. He should have caught that freaking ball. It would have helped the team. I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't have just won by 3. I know a lot of people would just be like, oh, well, we won. That's good. I don't disagree with that. I don't. However, this is a game that you didn't have to go down to the wire. And we went down to the wire because of 4 things. Stefanski, Joe Woods, Baker Mayfield, and the execution of the rest of the team. In a nutshell. And I want y'all to know something. I just said it. Meat and potatoes is coming up, man. Meat and freaking potatoes is coming up. We on national TV next Sunday night. I tell you what, the Baker Mayfield I saw today don't need to be his ass on that field next week. I'm going to say it again. I'm about to start this train again. Baker needs to sit this game out. We ain't going to win it with him no way. We are not going to win that game with him. So sit his ass out. Let him get 2 weeks off. And then maybe we can win the game when they come here. Novel thought. Kevin Stefanski, you stink as a coach, man. At some point, you got to put your foot down. And I don't mean disciplinarian type thing, but you have to start coaching your team. You got to look your quarterback in the face and be like, nah, not today, homie. I'm going to need you to go home and get some electrotherapy, or I'm going to need you to go sit in the cold tub, or I'm going to need you to, you just keep sending this dude out there. You just keep putting him in a line of fire, throwing damn near 30 times. And there's parts of me that I can't say nothing about it. You know why? Because like I said, no excuses. If you're taking your dumb ass out there and you know you hurt, yeah, put his ass out there. Let him tee off against him. Because he ain't hurt, right? So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted for real. Because I sit on the side of, damn it, you're ruining the season for me as a fan. But I'm also on the side of, shit, you're going to take your dumb ass out there, then you need to be making these plays. So it's really tough. from one side to the other side. But the one thing that we do have is a decent running game. So to me, you need to run the ball more. You can't, and I'm fine with Nick getting 22 carries, but you need to start cutting into that Baker's shit. Like his coaches don't do him favors, bro. They just keep putting him out there, on the skewer. Like nigga, we just gonna keep winding him up. Eventually, he gonna be if listen, he already well done, but eventually he gonna be a medium, and tender. If I just keep spinning his ass around on his spit, it's just silly, man. It's silly. I don't like where it's going, and I hope that this team figures it out because we're not in a good spot right now, and it doesn't look like we're gonna be in a good spot, after next week. We lose this game next week, we have severely hindered ourselves because next week is a divisional game against Baltimore. So if we don't win this game, man, we are putting ourselves at a great disadvantage. But it is what it is. So again, I didn't. I think I just kind of came off like we lost today. I didn't mean to come off that way, but I know I don't feel like we won. I just don't feel like we won. So that's my spiel for today. I'm not going to continue to go on further to bore you with the stuff that my agitation and my frustration. And I've been doing it really good. I've transformed myself from a guy who was super agitated to a guy that could work through his agitation to give you full-fledged facts, uninterrupted by emotion. From my psychology days right there. So this show will be this show and every show will be streamed audio on Spotify. It will be streamed audio on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, as well as on Anchor. And then, of course, our video version of our podcast will be shown on YouTube. You can tune into the audio and to the video at Two Guys and a Mic 216 on all of those streams that I just pointed you towards. Please go in, listen to us, give us some comments, give us some likes, some thumbs up on the YouTube. Please subscribe to the page. Also, like the page, and then also comment. We like the interactions. We also have IG, and we also have Facebook, Two Guys and a Mic 216. Again, like and follow on those, and also comment. We do a really good job of trying to get back at everyone who posts comments for us. So nothing has changed. We still have the same theory and that same thing. We want to make sure that we engage. We want to make sure that we let people know that we're here and we're not just here for ourselves. We're here for you guys as well. So check us out in the middle of the week. Friday, I think we'll probably be a week show. We don't see you guys before that. Happy Thanksgiving. Love you guys.